A strange shape has been seen darting across the skies over Area 51. Beyond the theories about exactly what it is, the most important question seems to be, why were civilians allowed to see it at all? The mystery began in early June, when a group of filmmakers from the YouTube channel Project Fear revealed via social media that during a shoot over the Nevada desert, their cameras captured what appears to be a never-before-seen military aircraft patrolling overhead. In a follow-up video detailing the sighting, footage captured by the crew shows what appears to be a bright orb of light created by what they described as a huge headlight. Only thermal footage revealed a clear outline of the aircraft. The team initially speculated that the jet may be a Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. However, the images revealed a silhouette unlike that of any known operational American aircraft, consisting of two overlapping triangular sections. Aviation journalist Bill Sweetman immediately pointed out the similarities between the mysterious aircraft and the long-retired experimental McDonnell Douglas X-36 unmanned jet designed for NASA in the late 90s. The aircraft was originally designed as a demonstrator for a remotely controlled fighter with formidable maneuverability and equipped with a camera system that could potentially be used for reconnaissance missions. Initial prototypes for the X-36 were reportedly promising, but the project did not lead to large-scale production. It's unlikely that the aircraft spotted over Area 51 was one of the two X-36 jets built for NASA nearly 30 years ago. However, there is still a chance that the aircraft captured in the thermal footage is a modern evolution of the X-36 concept, set to introduce what some believe could be America's first sixth-generation aircraft. While there has been no major statement from Area 51 regarding the sighting, both the crew who captured the video and aviation experts reviewing the clips suggest this could have been the first civilian sighting of the highly secretive Boeing F-47. Little is known about this new jet. According to initial reports, it's expected to have a combat range of around 1,200 miles, superior stealth capabilities, and the power to command swarms of unmanned attackers during missions over highly contested areas. However, its final design is still a mystery. While the Air Force has released some renders of the aircraft, these have intentionally kept the silhouette ambiguous. Officials have also confirmed that some elements in the images have been modified to avoid revealing too many details about the aircraft. Still, some couldn't help but notice certain similarities between these early renders and the shape of the aircraft flying over Nevada, including a sharp, pointed nose and what appears to be a fuselage divided into two triangular sections. Area 51 has a history of serving as the base tasked with testing some of America's most experimental aircraft. During the 1960s, the high-altitude U-2 spy plane was mistaken for a UFO by both civilians and commercial aircraft pilots, who witnessed it darting thousands of feet overhead during early flight demonstrations before the aircraft became public. At the time, most of these sightings were believed to be accidents, but now some suspect that the F-47 captured on video was there to be seen. It's nearly impossible to record footage near Area 51 without being noticed. In fact, the crew who filmed the unidentified aircraft over the base reported having been monitored by security guards almost as soon as they arrived. For days, the surveillance continued. Officials at the base must have known there was a team recording in the area, yet they still decided to deploy one of their most secretive aircraft, flying so near to the civilian crew that after the sighting, some of them would even confess that for a moment, it almost seemed as if the jet intended to land next to them. Of course, there's no way to know whether the aircraft wanted to be recorded. But if it did, some have speculated it could have been a way for American officials to casually publicize the current state of their new aircraft and hint to adversaries that the U.S. is on the verge of deploying the world's first sixth-gen aircraft. For now, however, this mysterious aircraft will remain hidden, leaving many wondering exactly what is flying over Area 51 at night and how much America truly wants to keep it hidden. Satellite images from a Chinese shipyard appear to show a submarine missing one feature every submarine was supposed to have: the sail. That tower, rising from the top of the hull, is where submarines place critical sensors, communication equipment, navigation systems, and crew access points. For many, a boat without this structure would never make for a practical underwater asset. And yet, China's latest submarine seems ready to operate without it. In a series of images captured on May 31st and June 1st over the JN shipyard in Shanghai, the mysterious boat, for which neither experts nor Chinese authorities have provided an official name, is seen sporting a sleek, minimalist design that resembles the silhouette of a torpedo more than that of a traditional submarine. While some observers have suggested that the boat may still feature a minimal sail resembling a low-profile hump, the available photographs make it almost impossible to identify any semblance of an upper structure. China has not publicly admitted the existence of this submarine, much less revealed its full capabilities or the missions the nation intends to use it for. However, some naval analysts have suggested that an unconventional design like this may be intended to reduce drag and improve maneuverability underwater. It's also possible that by getting rid of a traditional sail, China intends to reduce the submarine's acoustic signature and create a new class of underwater boats that are much harder to track. Other analysts believe that the lack of sail signals China could be planning for this new boat to serve as an unmanned underwater vehicle. As of now, there are no publicly known drones as large as the one seen in Shanghai, which, according to naval analyst H.I. Sutton, measures about 394 feet long and 36 feet wide. However, China has been toying with the idea of large unmanned submarines for some time now. Back in 2024, the China State Shipbuilding Corporation introduced a prototype of an underwater drone that, if built, would be 141 feet long. While still not as large as the mysterious sailless boat seen in the satellite images, analysts couldn't ignore the similarities between the two designs, leading some to wonder whether the vessel seen in the photographs represents an evolution of the same concept. According to the company behind the prototype, an unmanned submarine like this could be used for a wide range of missions, including carrying out attacks against rival ships, conducting mine-laying operations, or even transporting swarms of smaller naval drones across the ocean. Fortunately for China's rivals, experts have noted that the submarine still appears too small to carry some of the nation's newest long-range missiles, suggesting that this platform, as ominous as it seems, will most likely not serve as a ballistic missile boat. Still, foreign nations, especially those in the region, cannot let their guard down. In 2018, the nation had already launched a sailless submarine assembled at the same shipyard. Not much is known about it, other than it was around 150 feet long and was likely used only as a test bed. At the time, there was still not much reason for concern. But now, the recently captured satellite imagery has confirmed that China's unconventional boats are getting bigger. It's almost as if the nation were preparing them for a very specific mission. And with China building submarines faster than any other nation, we may not have seen the final evolution of this concept. The next version could be larger, more autonomous, and potentially capable of carrying far more destructive payloads. The naval base at Kronstadt was built more than 300 years ago to protect St. Petersburg from foreign attacks. So when a Ukrainian drone slammed into a Russian warship stationed there in early June, the most alarming part wasn't the strike, but that the enemy had managed to get close enough to record it without the Russians even understanding how. The hit came on the 3rd, when a barrage of Ukrainian drones descended across the city to carry out a series of strikes. The attacks served as a grim opening for the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, one of the country's most important events, which Putin was scheduled to attend. Most of the footage captured by locals shows towering plumes of dark smoke rising from oil facilities after they were struck by what analysts believe were FP-1 and FP-2 long-range strike drones. However, one video in particular stands out from the rest. Shortly after the attack, the Ukrainian 414 Separate Unmanned Strike Aviation System Brigade shared a clip on social media of a coordinated strike against the Russian guided missile corvette Boyki, which Ukraine has accused of escorting ships from the nation's so-called Shadow Fleet across Europe. Through the POVs of different drones carrying out direct strikes and follow-up reconnaissance patrols, the ship, sitting in a dry dock at the naval base, can be seen wrapped in flames after enduring multiple detonations. As of now, there's no confirmation as to whether Boyki was permanently put out of commission, or even how severe the damage was. Still, simply being able to carry out a strike within this fortified base marks a major success for Ukraine's drone units. Analysts have noted that perhaps the most impressive part of the raid was that even hundreds of miles from the front line, the Ukrainians still managed to secure footage of the strike, suggesting either that drones are becoming more sophisticated or that undercover agents are operating deep within Russia. The FP-1 and FP-2 drones, believed to have been used in the operation, can cover hundreds of miles of terrain autonomously. However, they are designed as one-way attack drones, meaning that the Ukrainians operating them cannot simply download the recorded footage after returning to base. To secure the videos captured by the drones, operators on the ground have to record the feed during the mission. But with the Kronstadt naval base so far from the front lines, it seems unlikely that troops in Ukraine could maintain a strong enough connection to capture these images. Analysts have suggested a couple of theories as to how the footage was obtained. The first is that the drones were launched from across the battle lines by an initial team of operators. Once the drones were too far away to maintain a connection, a second Ukrainian group stationed inside Russia established a link as they approached St. Petersburg, allowing them to guide the drones to their final destination and capture footage of the assault as it began. It is also possible that neither FP-1 nor FP-2 drones were used in the attack. Instead, a team of local agents may have assembled a group of short-range attack drones that were easier to control and maintain a steady connection with during the operation. Whichever the case, the implication remains the same. Ukrainian assets could be operating near valuable Russian targets, and given the lack of reports of any attackers being detained, either the country has not yet located them, or at the very least is trying to hide the fact that its national security has been severely compromised. Of course, there is one more possibility for how the Ukrainians ultimately obtained these videos. The long-range drones used in the attack could have been equipped with a satellite communications link, allowing troops stationed hundreds of miles away to control them and access their cameras. While this would suggest that Ukrainians may not be as deeply entrenched in Russia as some believe, it would still pose a significant threat to Putin's forces. If Ukrainian drones are getting better at maintaining communication with troops back home during long-range strike operations, that means they will not only be able to carry out effective attacks much deeper inside Russia, but also keep a watchful eye on some of the most secretive and distant bases in the region. When Taiwanese pilots launched to intercept Chinese aircraft near the island in late May, they weren't expecting to photograph one of the most valuable assets in China's entire air force. The country tried to present it as a routine military operation, but Taiwanese officials knew exactly what it meant. Their rivals were extending their aerial reach far beyond the coastline, and it might not be long before they decided to strike. Alarms had already gone off back in 2024. China had just sent a military formation to surround Taiwan. At sea, 4 naval fleets assumed positions around the island, while high above, a pack of aircraft from both the Navy and the Air Force patrolled overhead. The deployment was presented as part of a military exercise meant only to serve as a, quote, stern warning to the separatist acts of Taiwan independence forces. But locals weren't taking any chances. Almost as soon as China's assets arrived, Taiwan sent its own jets off the runways. There were no reports of confrontations or major incidents throughout the day. However, analysts were deeply alarmed after it was revealed that one of Taiwan's F-16V Vipers had captured a Chinese J-15 carrier-based fighter on video. According to reports at the time, the jet had been operating from the decks of Liaoning, a 1,005-foot-long giant capable of operating up to 40 attack aircraft, whose air wing can conduct anti-ship strikes, engage in air-to-air combat, and even carry out anti-submarine missions. If China was sending a beast like this close enough to Taiwan for its aircraft to be captured on video, locals worried their neighbor was preparing to escalate its efforts to absorb the island. Now, recent photographs captured by the crew of what's believed to be yet another Taiwanese F-16V have made the situation seem even more serious. This time, it wasn't just a single Chinese aircraft caught on camera, but a pair of J-16 fighters flying alongside a YY-20A aerial tanker, operating near the median line of the Taiwan Strait and slowly approaching the island. unlike the J-15, the J-16 is strictly a land-based aircraft, equipped with an advanced radar and a formidable strike capability, comprising a mix of missiles, rockets, and laser-guided bombs. Given the low quality of the images captured by Taiwan, it's impossible to know how heavily armed the aircraft were as they approached the island. However, the presence of the tanker appears to make China's intentions clear. A YY-20A tanker, like the one shown in the image, can carry up to 90 tons of transferable fuel. While the exact amount the J-16 received during this mission is unknown, a fighter in the J-16's class, such as the American F-15E Strike Eagle, can carry roughly 35,550 pounds of fuel when fully loaded. That means a single tanker carries enough fuel to completely refill more than 5 heavyweight fighters from empty tanks, dramatically extending the range and endurance of any formation operating near Taiwan. By testing these capabilities during the recent flight over Taiwan, China appears to be preparing to deploy some of its most lethal land-based fighters all the way to the island and keep them operational during extended missions. Through this strategy, China may even be able to reduce its reliance on aircraft carriers during the opening stages of a potential conflict with Taiwan. Rather than pushing its most valuable warships into range of enemy missiles, drones, and air attacks, Beijing could project air power from the mainland while keeping its carriers farther from the fight until the island has been weakened enough to launch an amphibious assault. Of course, based solely on the pictures captured by Taiwan, it's impossible to know just how ready China is to launch a full-scale military campaign built around aerial tankers and land-based fighters. Still, if China's aircraft are becoming comfortable enough to be photographed and keep coming back, it could mean Beijing believes the island will not have enough time to mount a proper defense before the first move is made.